Buckle up for AEC Trailblazers, the Founders Files, where we crack open the stories of the brightest minds in the AEC startup scene. Forget institutional pitches. We're diving deep into the real personal journeys of these industry disruptors. Get ready for some casual chats firsthand.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Trailblazers podcast, where we interview the most amazing AEC founders. Today with us, we have Steve Delorto. Let me tell you a little bit about Steve. As a 26 years construction industry veteran, Steve is the former executive officer of Clark Construction Group, one of the largest domestic general contractors in the US, with revenues averaging 5 to 6 billion annually. Some of the notable projects completed under Steve's leadership included the Golden Gate Warriors Arena, the Salesforce Tower, that's amazing, Facebook San Francisco Park Tower, Seattle Convention Center expansion, among others. In 2021, Steve founded Concentric, where he serves as the CEO. Concentric is a pre-construction platform that is transforming the fractured pre-construction environment by unifying data, people, and processes. Steve is also an investor and venture partner in several construction tech-focused venture capital funds, including Builders VC, Argonautic Ventures, as well as an advisor to 8 emerging construction tech-focused startups. Steve is also married, has 2 beautiful daughters, and one of them is about to go to college. Steve, you want to say hi?
Hey, Valen. Thanks for having me today. Appreciate the introduction. Very thorough.
You know what? Every time that you want to interview someone, we do a short bio. In your case, you have done so much that it was almost impossible to do like a really short bio. It's just crazy.
Well, you're making me feel old.
No, I just meant experience, which is not the same.
Go. Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Well, you're based in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, the San Francisco Bay Area is where we've called home since 2008. So I've been here for quite a while.
Nice. It's just crazy. So many AC entrepreneurs are living in San Francisco, and that's something that you would think it would just apply, for regular tech companies like social media, Google, but you feel also applies for our industry as well?
Yes, to some degree, but more and more it's starting to be a little bit more distributed, whether throughout the United States or even globally. So, but yeah, I mean, with Silicon Valley and this being what had been the epicenter for innovation, technology, et cetera, I mean, it's just kind of natural that this is where you see the majority of that, say, congregate. But the good news is that it's not just restricted to this area. Down in your neck of the woods in Miami became quite the hot spot, as has Austin and other parts of the country. So not just solely San Francisco.
True. So true. I would love to hear a little bit about how you started. Just excited to hear your story from the beginnings, the early beginnings of young Steve.
I got into the industry through an internship as far as the professional construction management career path. Prior to that, I had an uncle, sports coaches that all were, involved in different trade categories. And so summer jobs, spring break, I would do millwork, hang drywall. So I've always been in the business. But then once I went to college, and then you start taking on more formal internships, is when I first became an intern. And ironically, I was an intern on a full-time basis. So basically graduated from being an intern to a full-time employee with Clark my senior year of college. So I did double duty, taking all the course load, but at the same time working, a full-time job on a construction site. So it was great. I mean, the experiences that to this day I'm still guided by, and um, yeah, progressed as an intern from an intern just through the operational project management, active construction, job site management role. And then as I had opportunities to take on broader responsibilities within the company, that got me more and more exposed into the bidding, and then what transitioned into more pre-con and collaborative delivery front end work. And then ultimately having the P&L responsibility of business units and growing and scaling those. I just got the full gamut of experience operationally, how to set the table for success on the front end of the business, contract, work acquisition, planning the work in pre-con and managing design, and then running a business and scaling a business to the billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar scale. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
It's just insane. You make it sound so simple. Like, just go there, knock the door, you're an intern, and then after 2 decades, you're the senior VP of one of the largest construction companies in the US. What was your secret sauce? Like, what are your how you ended up going from an intern to a senior VP and this massive company?
I think a little bit of it is luck. I had the good fortune of working under great people all along the way that really opened the doors for me, always gave me opportunity. But I think I earned that as well because I worked very, very hard. I was always very curious and wanting to learn more and get involved in more. But at the same time, I was careful not to rush the process too. It wasn't about climbing the ladder. It was really about learning everything I can and mastering it. So I worked really hard to master every aspect of what I was involved in. And with that knowledge and experience that I gained, I could apply that into bigger projects and more complex deals. And then that transitions into, running a company that manages and supports multiple, complex construction deals. So it's like anything, it's building blocks. And if you can't rush past the foundation to go and build the first floor and the second floor. You got to get the foundation right. And I was just very careful to do that. And it paid dividends.
I love it because you saying you don't need to rush the process, but just consistently adding value and understanding the problems. And I feel that that's not the typical speech that you hear when people are speaking about startups, right? Like, typically it's like you need to go fast, fail, and sure, you're gonna fail, but you need to rush the process. Like, I don't feel a startup is it's a sprint. It's more of like a marathon. But hearing from you, I don't know if you think that applies to startups as well, or you don't think that's the
Well,
case.
it does and it doesn't. I'm talking about really good, sound business practices and how to be thoughtful and strategic about what you do, and truly mastering the skills that it takes to either manage a construction project or manage a company. That translates very well over to startups, whether it's software or robotics or you're running a business and you're creating a product. You don't want to rush the development of a product because then the quality is going to be poor. You will not have taken the time with the customers to really validate, are you building it the right way? Are you truly solving their pain points? But you definitely need to do it quickly and and efficiently. And so it's really about being organized, having some initial thoughts to build off of, and not just blindly running around trying to figure things out on the fly. So I think it's a combination of both. And the more efficient you are and the more thoughtful you are, the faster you can go. So it's a little bit of the, go slow to go fast.
No, I agree. I agree. And after you stop working at Clark Construction, like you started investing in companies, or that was before quitting your job at Clark Construction?
No, when I left, I immediately jumped into the technology sector that I saw as emerging within the construction industry, because everybody has been coming to the realization that we need more technology. We need to advance our ways because we are behind the times and we have catching up to do. And just through jumping in with both feet, I just met some great people that, like Jim Kim and Mark Blackwell at Builders VC, and Beacon Dujardin at Argonautic Ventures. People that saw the domain expertise that I had accrued in 26 years in a space that they have conviction around investing in. And so I was able to come and be a part of their venture capital funds to help look at, prospects and investments to figure out which ones would be best to invest in and really be a part of the fund in that capacity. And, that's just been great because, again, learning all aspects of the business, particularly in the startup world, I was able to obviously draw upon my deep domain expertise in construction to build a product for fellow builders, but at the same time, understand how the capital side of the equation plays into making the business or the startup successful. So, you need a lot of all of it. So, fortunately, I've got those relationships and networks and insights that I can draw upon. And then I also help. I'm a big pay it forward person, and I had a lot of people step up and help me when I started up Concentric and just even was thinking about it, doing it, how to do it. And so there are 8 other construction tech startups that but not all, have been founded by people who have spent time as builders in the business that have identified a pain that they wanted to go solve, and they started a company to go build that solution. And so as an advisor to them, I'm able to help them with not only the domain expertise in construction that I can give them, but also just the business side of the equation, having grown and scaled businesses again to that multi-billion-dollar level. It's just, general business strategies and techniques to help them be successful as well.
That's really interesting because we also work with a lot of startups, and I've seen a lot of people coming from the actual construction industry and trying to, create a startup or being successful, creating a business on being a GC or a SAB or even having an architectural firm, and then trying to create a startup. And I've seen many of them fail because they just want to manage it exactly the same way as they do with the previous company, right? And I feel startups are a complete different monster compared to regular companies on the AC. And it's so cool that you went from being there and then you took your time and then you learn from people who have already done it, and being humble enough to do all that, or conscious enough to do all that. That's really cool. One of the guys you work with is Tom Dean, who is a guy that we regularly meet. Yeah, he's such a nice guy. Tom, if you're listening to this, you're a really nice guy. But it's so cool. And I'm curious on when you decide to start working with a company to be, to invest or to be a member of the board or whatever way you want to engage. How do you decide on which company to engage with? Do you decide based on the founder or based on the company, both, or what is your...
Yeah, there's no magic equation, Belen, but, definitely having the experience in the industry, you have insights as to which problems are real problems and maybe which startups are creating something like a solution in search of a problem. and those are rarely successful. So, having the ability to identify and know and relate to a real pain, and then if that founder or that company is actually solving that pain in a meaningful way, is, a big part of it. It also gets down to the founder as well, or the founding team, because, it's not, I know from firsthand here, it's not for everybody. It's challenging, it's humbling, and it requires a different mindset and quite honestly, a different skill set. And, not everybody's going to adapt well if they're leaving a mature industry and a mature company to go to a 0 to 1 stage startup. So it's just a lot of gut feel and gut read of the situation, but you can dig in and also validate with some level of detail. Is it worth the investment from the standpoint of, is it a big pain that you're solving, and this investment has the company has the opportunity to grow at a very, very large scale? Or is it just like a little thing, and that may not be worth a venture capital level investment, even though it's still a great idea and a great company? There just might be different ways of funding it and getting it started.
No, yeah. I agree on that. Like, I think social media pushes first a lot of people to go into entrepreneurship, like be your own boss, become a millionaire in 2 years.
Yeah.
Most likely it's not going to happen. And then I feel that most entrepreneurs are just pushed on, hey, just raise money quickly, and then another round. Then, well, it might be the case for some startups, but I think it's not the case for all of them. Or it might be the case that, hey, at least at the beginning, you might not need it. You can just bootstrap and then you raise. Or I've seen really successful companies that they have just raised one round and then they have gotten so much money by, revenue, pure revenue, and then they have not raised a second round. So, like you said, there is no recipe for success. Not even for an entrepreneur or for you selecting which companies to engage with. No,
everyone's unique. So you have to just measure it and evaluate it as such. It's just every opportunity deserves a fresh look. You can't make a one size fit all type evaluation criteria.
And then what you said about trusting your gut feeling, which it might sound easy. I don't think it is. I don't think it is to just truly trust your gut feeling on everything.
No, it's not. But and you're gonna win some and you're gonna lose some. So you just have to know that going in.
Yeah, which is also not easy. Like trusting in yourself, and then if it fails, it's not hey, I did a terrible job. No, it's just like, it's going to happen. Like, you cannot stop it. But then moving forward, like you invested in these companies, or you engaged working with these companies, and you decided to start suffering. You have already seen the suffering of all these companies, and then you decide to move anyway. How do you decide to found a startup and start, suffering like all of us?
Well, the plan always was to start Concentric. So the other roles were happening simultaneously. So I was signing up for the pain and suffering long before I was helping other companies. So we were, the great thing is that there's always a great exchange about the experiences that we're more or less going through at similar timeframes. I mean, I literally just had a catch-up call with Cameron Page, who's the CEO and founder of ClearStory, and they've just continued to be wildly successful, and just being able to help him along the way, and he in turn also is a great resource and source of information for me as well. So you develop friendships because you're going through these things together. And, with Clear Story as an example, but you mentioned Tom Dean, I pulled together a number of us, and we have what we call the Built by Builders network. And so this is a group of construction tech startups whose founders have come from within the industry, like me, identifying a pain point and stepping out of the traditional, corporate roles we were in to take this leap to go solve something for the greater industry. And I think that's a huge point worth emphasizing. And that's what we intend to do with Built by Builders, because I hear this all the time when people are looking at Concentric and considering it, and then they do their homework and they realize that, the company is founded and backed and is being, designed, if you will, with that experience and, from somebody who's got that, experience walking in their shoes. Big difference maker, because if you are in the industry, who would you rather buy from, or what product would you rather use? One that was built by somebody who has no knowledge of what you go through day in and day out and how it all really works, or there's a much greater degree of comfort and value add when you know that if it's being built by somebody who's dealt with the pain that you're dealing with, and you know damn well that is probably going to be far more accurate in the way it's solving it and making your life easier and better. So, a number of those companies are part of this Built by Builders network, and we're very proud of it.
Well, that's really cool that you have built such a network. And I do agree, to be honest, to some extent on what you said regarding, like, for sure, coming from the industry, I think I'm an architect, and for sure I love to build for the industry, and I think there's a lot of value. I just think that sometimes it can be a double-edged sword.
Sure.
Because, like, if you are adding the value based on your knowledge and everything, that's a great part. But I've also seen, like, entrepreneurs that rely so much on that they forget about their clients. It's like, hey, I used to be, I don't know, a SAP or a GC. Another GC is not going to tell me how I'm supposed to build the product because I know it. Yeah. And so I feel that you need to maintain that balance between, you know most of it, but you still need to listen to your clients. So it's the only, like, comment I made regarding the knowledge.
No, that's a fantastic point. And one of the things that we did right away was within our customer group, we have a customer advisory group that we do just that. We have the advantage of having knowledge enough to frame out the concept or identify the pain point, but we spend a lot of time with our customers before we even put code to anything. It's defining what the problem is, what's the optimal solution, the user interface, the user experience, all of these things critically important. And then when we get enough, then we bake the cake together. So, we're able to pull a lot of the ingredients together, but we heavily involve our customers. Number one. Number two, I've, super fortunate, an amazing team. So yes, there's a lot of construction domain expertise that we have as a company, but that's also very balanced with the best in class team that we have that has tremendous experience designing and building B2B SaaS platforms, particularly ones that handle a lot of data, high security situations in which that data needs to be managed and maintained. So, right out of the gate, this was, the plan of building a company that has that perfect balance of construction, pre-construction expertise, but a team that can build a best-in-class piece of software. And that has everything to do with the simplicity of the design, because I think a lot of software in the past has been built, particularly for our industry, just way too complicated, just all kinds of data entry that's required to get a given output. It's intimidating, it's cluttered. In our case, we strive to have our platform and the interface be as intuitive and easy to use as an Apple product right out of the box. That's easier said than done when you're talking about a B2B platform servicing a very complex, array of workflows that exist in pre-construction in a dynamic environment that the construction industry is in. So very, very challenging, but we have the very best world-class team, doing it, making it happen every day.
That's really cool. And I do think that both like deciding on which features to put together and how to materialize this into a really simple interface are both related with customer discovery. Like what you said about, hey, we speak to our clients and then after that, then we decide what to build. It's something that you don't see that often out there.
Right.
I don't know the reason, to be honest, on why that happens, but the entrepreneurs in general don't pay that much attention on having a customer advisory board and actually hearing what the client wants to say, and then I feel it's much more easier to materialize. For sure, you still need a really great team that is gonna make a great UI, UX, and everything. But I don't know. That's my experience. Do you think it's the same? Like, have you seen all the startups failing on this, or what do you think?
To varying degrees, but the companies that I see being more successful than the others are ones that are really listening and paying attention. I do think it's a trap that people can easily fall into, to have an idea and want to build it with the thinking that that's the way everybody else sees the pain, and that they're going to buy it right out of the box. And we just know that doesn't work. And so the trick, though, is that if you have a lot of customers like we do, and you're involving a lot of customers, you got to figure out what's common to all of them. And each one of them are going to have their own unique take on things. But the industry is benefiting, and will benefit the most when we can arrive at something that is pretty common and standard across the board. And, when you have these discussions and all these different ways and workflows that people go about doing the different things at pre-con, everybody does start to recognize and realize there's nothing unique and special truly that they do. And it really shouldn't be that. It should be really, what are the quality of the people that you as a contractor hire, and how smart are they? How creative are they to figure out how to build the job faster, more efficiently, whatever. But ultimately, the process of pre-con and the way you go about it is not unique from contractor to contractor. So the benefit is buy into that flexible standard, so that way the data that you are generating out of those workflows can be really, really harnessed for your benefit. And you can't do that without standardization. If everything's custom and nothing is lining up, then there's not a whole lot you can do with it. And that's what is plaguing the industry still to this day. But we're at the outset of getting all of that really set up right and streamlined, and Concentric is leading the way in doing that for sure.
Well, that's something I always discuss with other professionals of the industry. They always say multiple reasons on why our industry is behind, on who is going to lead the change. And I always say it's startups, because we need a standardization, and big firms are not going to do it. It's startups who are going to do it, creating these products and centralizing data. So I agree on that. But there is also the fact that, and as soon as we decided to go with the podcast, this is a question I wanted to ask, because we did an analysis on all the AEC startups out there, and most startups are, you would think, are on the pre-con side, but they're actually just on the design portion of it, like dealing with fancy 3D models, and sure, you need that, like how to check the construction code, how to automate drawings, and sure, you need that, but it's just crazy how most startups are like focused there, and there are not that many focusing on the actual pre-con processes like
Right.
Constructing is doing. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, on the design side, we had advancements in, the three-dimensional design. Autodesk is obviously a big leader. Bentley's been in there. And then on the construction side, there's been many generations of project management solutions, back in the days of Buzzsaw and Prolog and Constructware. Now we have Autodesk Build, we have Procore. But yeah, pre-construction, that is a space that nobody has really been able to figure out or venture into. But the reason why is it's very complicated. There's a big difference between the workflows and the way things iterate in you're an architect, so that you go from concept to a fully completed design that's ready to build off of, but you're looking at many different options. You're trying to pick an option, and then you're going to iterate, and you're going to take a few paths here and there. It's not linear. But when you're in construction, the processes are pretty linear, RFIs and submittals, and you just rinse, repeat. And there's just way too much nuance and complexity. It's very fractured. It's very nonlinear. So I think it's very hard for anybody who hasn't lived and breathed it for a long time to make sense of it all. And, the majority of the people in the industry that are maybe operationally focused, that don't have a lot of experience in the pre-construction phase, they themselves don't even know it. And so you've got just two different groups of people, if you will, on different career paths. You have the project managers and the superintendents that are operationally focused. And then you have the pre-construction professionals, whether you're in the design category or you're an estimator or you're just the more broader pre-construction manager or executive, just really managing the process. Different people, different backgrounds, different needs, different skill sets. And so we're positioned to be hyper-focused on that segment alone, because there's so much that has to be done and figured out. And who better to figure it out than, a company that's positioned to have world-class B2B SaaS knowledge that can be bringing in best practices and insights from other industries far more advanced than ours, and then marry that with the deep understanding of all of the workflows, how they're done currently, and what are the opportunities to transform that to make it less taxing on the individual to get their given task done, more predictive in terms of the use of data from the past, and how do you apply that going forward? And how do you also generate more collaboration by understanding from, experience of being in the room, what each of the different stakeholders needs for it to be successful, and how do you bring them together in an environment that there's something in the platform and in the process that's benefiting all of them, and you're bringing together people and eliminating communication barriers, developing trust and confidence. Because when you do that, the outcomes of these projects are going to be dramatically changed and transformed for the better, and everybody will benefit.
That's a really good answer. But and by no means is my idea to put you on the spot, believe me.
Go for it.
But when dealing with pre-con, and the idea for me, it's great, and it's so much needed technology out there. But how do you deal with the implementation? Like, you have this great, amazing product. Is it hard for you guys? You have to do a lot of training, or people adapt really well to it?
It does take effort on both sides. But my point earlier about building a very intuitive, easy to use platform similar to an Apple product, it really starts with the quality of the design, because the easier you make the tool to use, whatever it is, it could be just a simple point solution, or it could be a very powerful platform like what we're building. If it's easy to use and intuitive, then there's less training. And the key to that is our customers are already super busy. And so you don't want them to have to take too much time out of their day to do this, because they got so many other demands on their time. The good news is that once they get on the platform and they learn it in short order, the efficiency they gain out of the use of the platform makes them less busy. And so then you have a positive cycle and benefit that then starts from that point forward. But it is sometimes challenging to get them over the hump to spend the time to get up to speed, start using the platform for all of their projects going forward. And change is hard for people, and it's harder for some than others. And we're just very patient, and we work, and sometimes we have to push them very assertively, because we know it's in their best interest, and quite honestly, that's what they need and want. And we get there together. So we spend an enormous amount of time and energy helping our customers through that journey, because the faster they get to a place where they can realize the value, which in our case has been as short as a week, and sometimes it's longer. But we have customers within a week or two that are using it live to propose and win a project, and they come back and the owner has pointed out that a more sophisticated approach to pre-con, as demonstrated with their use of concentric, was something that they've never seen before, and they knew that would benefit them, so they were chosen. Or we have customers say, hey, this is just saving me so much more time, and I'm able to communicate with my design partners or my client so much more effectively through concentric than I ever could with my ad hoc spreadsheets and the PowerPoint that I had to cobble together right before the meeting.
That's so true. There are so many owners or GCs just using spreadsheet that I bet those words, when they say like, this is so much better and it's saving us so much time, it's totally worth it. It's music to your ears. I think that's the best the founder can hear. Like, hey, you're saving me so much money that I love it.
Yeah, we measure success in across 4 points. One, we certainly help our customers differentiate themselves and provide a much superior service to their clients. So we do help, and it's proven that we help them win more work, which helps their bottom line and the growth of their company. We help them do it in a much more efficient manner. We go through an exercise with our customers, walking through all the steps it takes them to do it in their current state. And when you add up all the people hours and the cost of those hours, it's pretty staggering how much money. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars for not big companies. We're talking about small and mid-sized general contractors. How much that is costing them. It's a drag on their G&A, because they have people doing manual, ridiculously tedious tasks that a computer can do like that. But they're spending 4 hours to get a given task done, and they're doing that dozens and dozens and dozens of times a year, over and over and over again. And it's mind-blowing. So we drive an efficiency such that they save a lot of those people hours. That doesn't mean they're going to scale back their pre-con group. That means we've just multiplied, the horsepower, the bandwidth of their existing team for almost nothing. Far, far less than the pain, because the availability isn't there, but to then hire and train new talent. If you just wanted to throw bodies at your inefficient processes, that's astronomically more expensive. The third way is, really through superior service, clients will pay, more for a company that can give them a certainty of outcome versus, paying less for somebody who knows is going to present problems. So that they increase their profitability both through the deals that they are going to be able to get involved in with the superior service, as well as the fourth point being we reduce and help drive the risk out of the project. So your profitability goes up if you can stop writing down projects because you have a bunch of problems that crop up in the course of construction that cause you to write down your fee, which happens too often in our industry. So there's 4 ways that we provide value to our customers right out of the gate.
That's why I say startups are going to change the industry. But it's one of the, I think the highlights of what you said is when you mentioned like, hey, implementing this technology will not mean that you're going to lose your job, but on the contrary, you are going to be able to provide more value to the end product, which is a building, right? The same applies with any technology, right? AI or any technology applied. Like people oftenly think, hey, we implement this, it's going to take my job. And I even seen it myself. I used to work for an owner in Las Vegas and work for him for a long time. And I remember that people were scared. And anytime we wanted to implement like from something really simple from a chat to a CRM, they were afraid of like what I'm going to do. Like, the rest of the hours that I'm not going to be doing this, like manually, I don't know, updating the schedule or doing something like that. And it's on the contrary. It's like, hey, you're not going to do this. That is not adding value. And then you're going to add more value to the product. So the quality of what we do is going to increase. So your value is going to increase as well. And it's sometimes hard to explain this to people. Nobody likes change for sure. I don't like change. You don't like change.
Right.
But when you see it from as an external perspective, you can see it so clearly, and it's really important, to communicate that clearly. So I love it what you said.
I think the only people that are going to be losing hours for their work as a result of the better planning and the use of technology are going to be the lawyers. And that's okay.
Well, that's okay. Yeah. Well, you know Josh Levi as well, and,
yes.
and they're also taking more time out of the lawyers as well. But
he's part of the Built by Builders network.
Oh, really?
He's another good friend. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's really cool. He's from Miami. He's such a nice guy. So and one last thing, how does your roadmap look like for the next, I don't know, 5 or 10 years for Concentric? What else do you want to do for your clients or the industry?
That's one of the huge advantages that we have. We have an extremely deep and extensive roadmap. So we have no shortage of things that we've already designed, identified and conceptualized with what we're going to build. Because as a platform in pre-con, there's as many as 30 to 40 different workflows. And at least in the majority, but for 2 or 3 of these workflows, there's really no modern software that's built to solve those needs. And so, there's plenty to build. And, again, anybody with, no experience in the industry or only a few years, you don't know what you don't know. So the strength that we have is just this super deep roadmap and the relationship of how all of those stitched together the right way start to really amplify value above and beyond just like 1 + 1 = 2. We're talking about making something that 1 + 1 is just going to be way more than 2 in terms of the output, the power, the impact that we're going to have. So how long does that roadmap go out? Who knows? It's, in my mind, it will never end, because you build something, you can always build it better. You build new stuff then starts to trigger other analytics and things that you can do with to help our customers improve their business and be more efficient, et cetera. So, but it's deep. But it's
don't worry,
also a great balance. So
yeah, don't worry. I was not expecting you telling me 100 years or 50 years. So 10 years, that's enough. And it's a lot.
For sure.
I don't want to take more of your time, Steve. I know
That's
you're
okay.
a really busy person, but before we wrap this up, can I ask you a couple of ping pong questions?
Sure.
Can you tell me a great AEC software? You can leave out all your startups, so I don't put you on a compromise, and choose one outside your startups, so it's more fun.
Well, I would say concentric is the ultimate one,
Okay.
right? Naturally. But no, I think really I don't have a specific one because there's not nearly as many solutions within our industry that I think we should have. And so anybody that is coming in to build, I just, would encourage those who are doing it. And I certainly appreciate any software that's helping bring people together and really drive more collaboration with our industry. And, with that, then I think you can conquer all challenges. And it really does start with the people, provided that they have the tools and the environment to be successful. So,
All right.
not one that I can name, but that's the recipe for success in my mind.
We can leave it at there is no good enough for me to mention aside from concentric.
Aside from concentric.
Um, and if you could collaborate with any person in history, who would you choose?
I love history. And so I think you can learn a lot from history, whether it's, U.S. history or history all over the world. But from an industrial perspective, you take like a Henry Ford or Knudsen. There's a book that I love called Freedom's Forge. And in that instance, we were at the precipice of getting involved in World War II. And the President Roosevelt and his administration had the realization that the U.S. was not prepared to enter into such a global war and be successful. So they immediately went to work expanding our country's industrial infrastructure to produce, airplanes and munitions and, clothing and everything at such a scale that you read this book, it's absolutely amazing. And one individual they actually pulled in from the automotive industry. Again, you got Henry Ford really transformed the assembly line, etc. And so this person more or less grew up with those learnings and was able to tackle things on a scale that nobody's ever, done before, converting big automotive lines into just cranking out bombers and fighter planes and whatnot by the hundreds, and almost not quite overnight, but in rapid fashion. So, people like that inspire me for the type of change that is possible to affect within an industry. It's, you think big and address it in a big way, and you really, really can accomplish a lot and move the needle. And that's what we're setting out to do. So
It's just insane when people think big and they actually do it.
yeah,
It's just amazing. It's just so amazing because thinking big, I think, is the easiest part. Like actually implementing it is a hard one.
for sure.
And then the final one. Which one is your favorite building in the world, and have you ever visited?
Oh, I don't know if I have an answer for that one. You're putting me on the spot. Favorite building? That is the cool thing about the construction industry and having been in it and been part of teams that have built amazing buildings is, they're a physical reminder and testimony to your involvement and your hard work. So, I can walk around downtown San Francisco and point at the Salesforce Tower or point at the Park Tower where Instagram is headquartered, or the Golden State Warriors Arena, or projects up and down the Western Seaboard. And so, I think those projects, just because, they're part of my history, and not that I built them myself, but I had a hand in it. Those would be in that very special category.
Nice. Next time I visit San Francisco, I'm gonna think about you when I walk by the Salesforce Tower or the Instagram building.
No, we're gonna have to look me up. We'll have to go out and get a drink. We'll go get a traditional Fernet and Coke.
Really, you do Fernet and Coke? Last time we went having beers with Tom in San Francisco, I made him try Fernet and Coke. He was like, "I'm not sure about this."
I spent enough time in Argentina, Valen. I know. I've had my fair share.
Nice. Don't worry. Count on that. Next time I'm in San Francisco and we're going to get beers with Tom, I'm going to let you know for sure.
Perfect. You got it.
And before we say goodbye to each other, can you tell everybody where they can know more about Concentric and also how they can contact you?
Yeah. I mean, the best thing is if you go to our website at concentric.com, CONCNTRIC.com, book a demo. We've got a team happy to show you the platform and talk about all the benefits. Hit me up on LinkedIn. So there's any number of ways you can get a hold of me or any member of our team if you want to learn more. And I look forward to connecting with everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for your time, Steve. And I hope you have a great day.
Hope you have a great weekend. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah. Thanks to you for being here. Bye-bye.
Right, bye.
Thanks to our listeners. If you like this content, you can find past and upcoming episodes in ascworks.everse.com and at all of our Everse social media. We'd love to hear from you and recommendations for new content, so leave us a DM and we'll make sure to catch it.